Have you ever been stuck at an airport, staring at the departure board, watching your flight get delayed again and again? It's frustrating, right? Imagine that happening to almost every single flight at one of the busiest airports in the world. That's exactly what happened on a seemingly normal day at London Heathrow in 2017. It wasn't a storm, it wasn't a security threat, and it wasn't a strike. It was something much more fundamental. The power went out. And this single event sent a ripple effect of chaos across the globe, revealing just how fragile our modern, interconnected world of travel really is. Let's rewind to February 26, 2017. It was a Sunday, a busy day for air travel as people returned from weekend trips or headed out for the week. At Heathrow, thousands of passengers were checking in, going through security, or waiting at their gates. The airport was a symphony of controlled chaos, just as it is every day. But then, in the early afternoon, something went wrong. The lights flickered. The digital screens went blank. The baggage carousels ground to a halt. A sudden eerie silence fell over parts of the terminals, punctuated by the confused murmurs of travelers. An IT issue, people thought. It'll be fixed in a minute. But this wasn't just a simple glitch. The root of the problem was far more serious. A major power surge had hit one of the airport's critical data centers. It wasn't just a case of plugging things back in. The surge was so powerful it fried essential network and storage systems. Think of it like a lightning strike, hitting your home's main fuse box, but on a colossal, industrial scale. The systems that manage everything from flight departures, gate assignments, and passenger check-ins were suddenly offline. Instantly, the world's second busiest international airport was flying blind. The immediate aftermath was pure chaos. Without the central computer systems, airline staff had to resort to manual processes. Imagine trying to check in thousands of passengers with pen and paper. Gate agents were using whiteboards and megaphones to try and communicate flight information. The intricate ballet of getting planes to the right gate at the right time, with the right passengers and luggage, completely fell apart. The departure boards, which are the lifeblood of an airport, were frozen or simply dark. Passengers had no idea if their flight was canceled, delayed, or just lost in the digital ether. British Airways, which uses Heathrow as its main hub, was hit the hardest. They had to cancel all their short-haul flights from Terminals 3 and 5 for the rest of the day. That's over 100 flights gone. Long-haul flights were also severely delayed, creating a massive backlog. The problem wasn't just getting planes out, it was also about the planes trying to get in. Flights were diverted to other airports across the UK and Europe, from Manchester and Newcastle to Paris and Amsterdam. Pilots would be approaching London, ready to land, only to be told at the last minute to go somewhere else. For the passengers trapped inside the terminals, the situation went from frustrating to nightmarish. The lack of information was the biggest source of anxiety. People were stuck on planes on the tarmac for hours, unable to deplane because there were no gates available or ground staff to guide them. Inside the terminals, crowds swelled to unbearable levels. There were stories of families with young children running out of supplies, elderly travelers struggling with the long waits, people missing critical connections, weddings, and business meetings. The airport, designed for flow and movement, had become a giant, static waiting room filled with confusion and stress. So what caused this catastrophic power surge? The initial reports pointed towards an issue with the local power grid. Specifically, an electrical substation fire near the airport was blamed. This fire disrupted the power supply, and when it was restored, the sudden surge of electricity was too much for the airport's delicate IT infrastructure to handle. It highlights a critical vulnerability. It wasn't the airport's main power that failed, but the failure and subsequent reconnection of an external supply that caused the internal damage. This is a crucial distinction. The airport had backup power, but it couldn't protect against the sheer destructive force of the initial surge from the grid. The IT systems at the heart of the failure were located in a data center called Boadicea House. This wasn't some dusty server room in a basement. It's a state-of-the-art facility. But the power surge was so severe that it physically damaged the hardware. The engineers and IT teams on site faced a monumental task. They couldn't just reboot the system. They had to assess the damage, replace fried components, and then try to restore massive amounts of data from backups. This is a painstaking process that takes time, and every minute that passed meant more cancellations and more chaos spreading throughout the global flight network. The knock-on effects were staggering. When Heathrow sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. A canceled flight from London to New York means the plane, crew, and passengers aren't in New York for the return flight. This creates a domino effect. Airlines had to scramble to find hotel rooms for thousands of stranded passengers. They had to rebook people onto flights that were already full, leading to delays for days to come. The financial cost was immense, estimated to be in the tens of millions of pounds for British Airways alone, considering compensation, hotel bills, and lost revenue. As the hours ticked by, the media descended. The story was no longer just a travel disruption. It was a case study in modern infrastructure failure. How could a single power issue bring one of the world's most important travel hubs to its knees? Questions were being asked about the resilience of the airport's systems. Was there not enough redundancy? Were the backup systems not robust enough to handle this kind of event? The incident became a major headache for Willie Walsh, the then CEO of IAG, British Airways parent company. He had to publicly apologize and face a barrage of criticism over the airline's handling of the crisis. Slowly, painstakingly, the systems began to come back online. By the next day, Monday, some flights were able to operate, but the schedule was far from normal. It took several days for the airport and the airlines to clear the backlog of aircraft and passengers. For many travelers, their ordeal lasted long after the power was restored, as they navigated the complex process of rebooking and trying to get to their final destinations. The sight of thousands of bags piled up in the terminals became an enduring image of the crisis. A physical manifestation of the digital breakdown, the 2017 Heathrow power failure served as a massive wake-up call for the entire aviation industry. It brutally exposed the dependency on centralized, complex IT systems and the devastating consequences of their failure. In the aftermath, airports and airlines worldwide reviewed their own contingency plans. The focus shifted heavily towards improving the resilience of IT infrastructure and power supplies. This meant investing in better, uninterruptible power supplies, or UPS systems, that can smooth out power surges, and developing more robust disaster recovery protocols. It also highlighted the human element. While the problem was technical, the solution and management of the crisis were all about people. The communication breakdown in the initial hours worsened the situation for passengers. The incident underscored the need for clear, consistent, and honest communication during a crisis, even when the full picture isn't clear. Empowering staff on the ground with the right information and authority can make a huge difference in managing passenger anxiety and frustration. Looking back, the Heathrow incident is a fascinating example of how our advanced world is built on foundations that can sometimes be surprisingly fragile. We take for granted that we can book a flight on our phone, check in at a kiosk, and be whisked across the world in a matter of hours. But all of that relies on a silent, invisible network of data and electricity. When that network breaks, the entire system can collapse. It's a reminder that for all our technological progress, something as basic as a stable power supply remains absolutely paramount. The Great Heathrow Blackout of 2017 wasn't just a day of travel chaos. It was a lesson in humility for the modern age. Thank you so much for watching. It's incredible how one event can have such a massive ripple effect. What's the worst airport experience you've ever had? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this story interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into major events that shaped our world. See you next time.